do this? Quick and painless? Or slow and painful?
Slow and painful.
You finally met your match, chameleon.
We're not so different, you and I.
Skadoosh. Stand back. I'm gonna kick my butt.
I just wanted to start by asking you sort of what was the biggest challenge that you faced, either technically, artistically, story-wise, and then how did you overcome it?
For me, it was like we didn't want to start this film until we had the perfect villain, and that's my favorite thing about this franchise is I think it's created the best villains of all time, and so it was what we're really discussing, like how can we get someone that's as cool as the previous three villains? I mean, even someone as good as Tai Lung, who I think
You love Tai Lung.
I love Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda 1. I don't know if you guys watched all the other ones. But, and when we got this chameleon and our first female villain and then got Viola to voice it, it all came together.
I think there's so many different elements that we were trying to fit in there, from the graphic portions to the crazy food dream area to, all these different elements, the giant city. It was really difficult to try to find the places for them because we loved all those concepts, but how do we actually get them all to fit together and fit in this movie?
Well, since he mentioned the giant city, so Juniper City is massive. So it was like lots of characters, like lots and lots of characters. So for us in the character effects animation, we had to build tons of garments, to kind of complement the crowd, to complement the look of it. So that was, this is just one of it, but, yeah, it was
and
pretty
all
amazing.
of your animals are different shapes and sizes too, and all wearing something different.
Something different, yeah.
Not
So
easy.
there were a lot of garments out there. So that was amazing, along with fur. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were two things that kept me up at night.
Okay.
One was the chameleon. The chameleon was just really difficult. We didn't know how we were going to pull off the transformations. So that was number one. Number two was probably the fight scenes. And I remember seeing in early storyboards when they went to the tavern, they had a fight. It was like very rough. We knew we were going to have to figure out all the kung fu moves and change the cameras, and we're going to have to do a lot of work with it. And then one of the directors from Madagascar, his name is Tom McGrath, he came up with an idea to make the whole tavern tip back and forth. So he made it 10 times harder for us.
And then the producers are like, has Tom been in here? What's going on? What's going on with the Tilty Tavern?
He earned his special thanks at the end. Well, let's talk about the chameleon. I'm so interested in this character, how it was brought to life.
I know you guys work so hard on her transformations, and if you notice when she turns into another character, like if she turns into a leopard, it's not furry. It's still got her creepy lizard
Scale
skin
pattern
on it. So that was a huge challenge. But my biggest challenge was they designed such beautiful dresses for her. And I was like, and there's thousands of them. And I was like, can she have a costume change like every scene, like a Cher concert or something? And they're like, we can't afford that.
Yeah, you'd still be working on it, right?
I would still be working on it. You're right.
So originally, I think Mike had this idea that it was going to be like Sword in the Stone. And that's one of my favorite movies as well. So trying to figure out how she was going to change from one character to the next was definitely the biggest challenge. And we did some early 2D planning. And that was a really good blueprint. And then from there, it got harder because we had to figure out how would we take the actual CG model and change it from one to the next. So we had 8,130 individual controls on the chameleon's puppet, and every single piece of it could move. So if we wanted to change her into Tai Lung is 3 times as tall, way different silhouette. We had to take all those little pieces and move them and morph them into Tai Lung. So that was the biggest challenge. And then from there, she had a dress that was extremely complicated with all these panels, and CFX didn't know how they were going to do it. So
transformation was really complicated in terms of garment because we actually had to scale and fit the costume like he mentioned. Let's say chameleon transforming into Tai Lung wear pants, just pants. And then it was our job to look it seamless, It was hard for us because we had to match the lines, like you mentioned, 2D drawings and lines, maintain that, complement the animation that's coming out of the transformation from animation department. But then the hardest part was to make sure that the cloth, because chameleon is very tiny in the actual space. So those morphings, it was quite hard. But I would say CFX did a great job.
They did an awesome job.
It was cool for me to see. I called it like old school meets new school. How they would bounce back to hand drawn, like paper and pencil, which was this loose. That you guys did it with the transformations and the fight sequences, and it was really neat. If you can imagine us going back in time and doing it on paper first before we took it to the computer, actually saved time.
Well, what was the value of that specifically?
It was to work it out quicker. Somehow it was looser and quicker just to do sketches.
Okay. Instead of working with 3D models and things.
100%, yeah, because you would have like literally 1,000 individual controls on the panel of the dress. So instead of taking each one of those and moving them frame by frame, Philippe would just do a quick forward drawing kind of blueprint of it and then play it back, see if those are the shapes that we want, and then give it to Pramita's team.
Yeah, and then we made sure that, it's an overlaying on the animation so that it looks like cloth. It still has to flow, right? This is like a huge panel, but then also transform into something which is not flowy at all, because most of the, panda characters is not necessarily has flowing garments that she is transforming into.
Right.
So those were the things. But it's a joint effort. It's definitely a joint effort. Sean being directing us all the time on, the look of it and how it should move on. And then things going to effects, morphing the skin, trying to make sure the skin is inside the cloth asset. It's a back and forth, like you said. So overall, it kind of worked out.
The other thing about the chameleon too is like she's a very small character talking to very large characters, and I've heard other filmmakers talk about the challenges of eyeline and things like that. So how did you guys work that out? Besides her transforming into bigger animals, obviously.
But personally, I remember we just cheated, and it was the same thing. I worked on the last Shrek film, and that gingerbread guy is this big, and Shrek is huge. And we would just, fortunately, since he was a simple shape, just sometimes make the gingerbread guy this big, and you'd be amazed at how much. The biggest trick that these guys did was the staff that she holds. When Poe holds it,
right,
it's giant, and when she holds it, it makes her look ridiculous. So that staff is constantly shifting.
Yeah.
I would argue that you don't notice it, right?
Not at all.
And they are cheating. It's like cheating.
That was Mike's mandate through the whole thing. He's like, cheat. He's like, I cheated all through high school. I want you guys to cheat.
Yes.
That's a lesson for all the children here today. Cheat.
If you want to direct, cheat through high school.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Like you bring up scale, where the main character, one of the main characters, is the smallest character. So having to build these different cities and everything, where you can actually just feature the smallest character all the time, was pretty difficult. I mean, yeah, we did switch things out a lot, but like a lot of times you'll do things like if they're side characters, you have mice, running along the side or something like that. But like this, we had to really feature. This is her set of stairs, and this is everyone else.
Oh yeah, we had you guys built a little set of stairs for her in the middle of the big stairs. If you notice next time you
it's kind of like in China, they had the at the Forbidden Palace where you can only walk the emperor can only walk down the middle, so like she can only walk down the middle in the small stairs.
Well, let's talk about locations, because there are some amazing ones, and I loved the kind of artistic approach of the locations as well, and the kind of painterly backdrops. And I wanted to know where that came from and sort of what tool set needed to be implemented, because I read some crazy thing about the amount of flowers that they walked through on the beginning of their journey.
Yeah, it's nice.
How many petals?
The rhododendron, there was 4.5 million rhododendron flowers that we used in that set for I think 6 shots. So 4.5 million of those, and it was so beautiful though. Like when we first heard Mike's like, we want to make this beautiful, we want to make it impactful. So like, okay, let's try to get this stuff together. But the only way we could actually make it so impactful was to put so much in there, to make it so rich, to give lighting so much, to kind of show the shadows, show the different like colors and everything. It came out beautifully, I think.
These guys helped us figure out how to incorporate personality and character with all of their moves.
Right. I think out of all the films I've worked on at DreamWorks, this is the most fun I've had, because the style is perfect. It's like you can go cartoony, you can go kind of sensitive and realistic. Not every film allows you to do that. And Mike was great at like, this scene, let's play it kind of Madagascar, like more cartoony timing. This scene doesn't call for that. Let's play it straight. Let's play it more realistic. So it gave the animators a lot of room to play. And yeah, everyone had a blast on the film.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in layering all the different culture and traditions and things that you want to put in that world, I mean, you take a look at the city, why are there so many paintings and pictures and stuff? It's us thinking about how would all these animals develop through history, through the different generations, through the dynasties? And this is where they would end up, 400, 600 years later, and this is what it would look like.
Well, I want to thank these amazing people who made this amazing movie for coming out
Thank
today. And yeah, if you like the movie, go tell 10 friends to go watch Kung Fu Panda 4. If you didn't like it, tell your enemies. Okay?
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.